So I'm out taking a walk in my neighborhood. It's about 8:30 at night, and there's a little drizzle. Temperatures around, high 60s. There's a wind going. It got me thinking that for the first time, in terms of just my physical environment here, for the first time, this feels like my home. The home I'm used to, Seattle area. This weather could easily be, just taken out of the. This weather could easily be just plucked out of the Pacific Northwest and transplanted here for the evening, and you never know the difference. And it got me thinking about homesickness. Now, I've been doing the digital nomad thing since 2021, domestically up until last month, but I've been moving all over to places I'd never been before, places where I didn't know anybody. And I don't want this to sound like bluster or anything, because it's definitely not. But I personally have never experienced homesickness before. When I was in Miami, 3.5 years into my wandering, I did finally start to get lonely, because at that point I hadn't really put an effort into making friends. And so I did go back to the Pacific Northwest for a while, but I never felt that panging for what had been my home. And I realized that it's because it just isn't home to me anymore. But for a lot of people that are thinking about long-term traveling, the homesickness is something that they worry about. So I wanted to share some thoughts on that for anybody who might be tempted or on the fence. Maybe this can help get you over the trepidation, if that is what's holding you back. A lot of people treat moving away from home, as something that's permanent, and it doesn't have to be. Sure, you may miss home, but it's not going anywhere. You can always go back. You can get a direct flight to any major American city for like a couple $100. So it doesn't have to have the permanence that a lot of people think of when they think about moving away. Mission accomplished. So one practical thing that I would advise if you are worried about homesickness is to just build this into your budget. Decide, how often do I want to go back home? And then price out the airline ticket from your destination to your original home, and then just divide that by the frequency. So if you want to go home quarterly, then budget a third of a plane ticket every month, and then you can buy your ticket and fly home and see your friends and see your family and go to your favorite restaurants. And I think that you'll find that those visits home, you just, like, that favorite sandwich place of yours is going to taste better. You enjoy seeing your friends and your family more. It just is the truth. You savor it, and you get to go home for a few days and do a grand tour of all your favorite spots. So being intentional about it is one way to kind of keep that panging at bay. Another thing to just sort of keep in mind, maintain perspective, is that it has never been easier to stay in touch and maintain friendships over long distance, like at any point in human history. I know that A lot of people, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about social media, but this is one way to use it as like a tool the way that it's intended to. So even if you're not a user by nature, just plan to just set up an Instagram or TikTok, wherever your friends hang out, and post updates on your trips and stay in touch and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your friends and family's lives. And that's not even counting, like, you can game with them, you can do video calls and like watch movies together, you can hang out in group chats with your friends, like you can maintain those connections. There's another way to keep that kind of homesickness at bay, is bring home to you. Plan to get Airbnbs that have a fold-out futon or an extra bedroom. Make it easy for your friends and your family to come to you. Start playing the credit card points game and rack up a bunch of points and fly the people that matter to you out to see you. It doesn't have to be goodbye. Don't have this sense of fatalism, because it doesn't have to be that way. There's another thing that's going to be hard for a lot of people to actually like put into practice, but it's probably the most powerful piece of advice I could give you on this topic. Sometimes you're meant to hurt emotionally. Like, it's true. It's a way to grow and learn about yourself and to stretch into something bigger than you are currently. Sometimes it's how you move on from something. I think a lot of people are scared to feel. And that can go from everything from numbing yourself to drugs and alcohol, distracting yourself with sex or relationships, going and committing to the gym, that, like, anything can be kind of turned into sort of a coping mechanism. And sometimes it's really important to just sit with your feelings and just be. Just be. Be present with them. Experience them. Feel them. Go inside and reflect on what they mean. Anytime you're feeling emotional pain, anytime that you're feeling hurt or longing or sadness or loneliness, it's time to tap into yourself. Look inside of yourself. Ask yourself what this means. Why are you feeling this way? What does it really mean? One of my favorite shows is a show called Alone. And they'll take 10 people out into the usually Canadian wilderness, and they drop them off isolated on different plots of land, and they get to take 10 items with them, and they have to survive. And they are totally alone. They film themselves. They don't even have a camera crew there or anything. This show ends up being, it's like watching a snuff film in slow motion, because the final couple of people, it's usually just who can withstand a prolonged starvation the best. But the most common reason that people go home is that they can't handle being alone. They can't handle being by themselves and with themselves. One of the all-time great survivalists to ever work on the show, the guy had a chessboard and a sink, and he was bushcrafting this life that many less fortunate people would envy. And I had never seen anybody survive like him. It's such a cliche. They'll say, I'm not here to survive, I'm here to thrive. And the guy was one of the few ever, maybe the only one ever, to thrive. But he couldn't finish because he couldn't bear to be alone with himself. Whatever kind of demons he was carrying and struggling with, he needed his wife too much to be able to cope with them, to be able to live without her. Being able to live with yourself, being able to be with yourself is a skill that not everybody has. And this is your opportunity, whether you're talking about being separated from your friends and family, or you're talking about totally solo travel. This is your opportunity to build that muscle, to learn to live with yourself. And I'm not gonna lie, you might have some low moments, you might have some hard times on the road to building that muscle. But man, is that gonna be a skill or an attribute that you will carry with you for the rest of your life and will serve you in ways that you will never believe. So if you're thinking about jumping and you're struggling with the homesickness or the loneliness, I would encourage you to steer into that fear. Don't hide from it. Let yourself grow. So one more thing. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. I will link it up in the description, and it will be an Amazon affiliate link. So if you click through and buy, it costs you nothing, but it does help financially support this channel. Much obliged if you do. Thank you, tip of the cap. The book is about emotional trauma and the way that it manifests physically in the body. You may have trauma-induced connections to this fear of separation, or this preemptive fear of loneliness that you're experiencing. But even if you do not have like a history of trauma, then this book is still really, really useful for helping you to understand the way that stress and things that are traumatic can manifest in the body. Once you're able to like logically understand, I'm feeling this way because of this, then you're gonna find that it's a lot easier to kind of control those emotions. And by that I mean control the way they impact you physically and emotionally. So if you are feeling like this is something you would really struggle with, I would highly recommend checking that book out too. That's all for tonight. I offer a free and deeply comprehensive workshop for people who are looking to leave the country and want to know how to button their lives up and how to get their ducks in a row for the move. If you are interested in that, go to wayfindertv.com/workshop. It's totally free, and it will not only save you a ton of time, but potentially save you a ton of money. So head there now if you're interested in picking that up. If you didn't catch it, I just went through hell and back to figure out how to get mail in Mexico if you can't receive it at your Airbnb. You can watch that here and figure it out without running all over town like I did.